Yes. Okay, hi everyone. This is Tangiza, and I want to introduce to Sandrine, and she is going to talk about her path in Bowspring and everything about it.
Okay. Hello, Nargisa.
Hi.
Briefly, I started yoga almost 10 years ago with Nargisa. So I went through a number of styles of yoga. I started with Anusara. I did general hatha yoga. Then I had a few years of doing very intense Ashtanga practice. And then went through and then started with Bowspring probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but really seriously only in the last year as the consistent practice and really my main
Mhm.
practice.
Mhm.
And what I found very baffling at the beginning turned out to be a very gentle yet rigorous practice that asked me to be so mindful of my entire body and not power through my yoga practice, which was a real pleasure and a real joy in a very different way. And to think of my body in very different ways because of its alignment, to think of it in this 3D version. First, and second, not to always try to flatten myself into straight lines, which had always been very, very challenging for me. So it's been very exciting to engage in Bowspring. And strangely, while it's a practice that makes me sweat, I find it to be a very therapeutic practice in the best sense of the word. And I found that out most recently when I suffered a pretty serious injury. I fell downstairs and hit very violently my right rib cage. Thankfully, I didn't have broken or fractured ribs. My entire muscle mass in that place was bruised, probably separated. What used to be muscle felt hardened. I couldn't go downstairs. I couldn't move. I found myself being chronically injured, and it lasted months. And I was given pain medication, which I didn't want to take, and thought I would just stay still. And with Nargiza, we tried a number of what are really Bowspring exercises, but focused on that particular aspect of my injury and the very notion of taking space with your ribs, a rounding up, of stretching, not as a pulling, but as a working with organically with the muscles, and doing these exercises allowed me to really turn a corner in my recovery and to really heal much faster and without the help of any medication, which was a real joy. At some point, I thought I would never not have pain again. So,
That's great. That's awesome. And what do you think the specific action helped you? The broadening and lifting up uh, that helped you?
yes, the broadening, lifting up, activating not just the front, but the
Mhm.
back. And when I mean taking space, is that lifting up and that stretching while being engaged around the rib cage is precisely what really helped. I mean, that's what was interesting. Contrary to what I would have imagined, it wasn't about let's work on this,
Right.
about let's create space for this by making sure everything around at the bottom, at the top, in fact, works to help
Yes,
it.
yes, yes, yeah, perfect. Yeah, I'm so glad it helped you. And would you talk a little bit about your recent the knee problem?
Yes, so it's been I had a pretty brutal fall recently. This just happened this year. I'm usually fairly healthy and
Yeah. Right.
physically fit. So I've had to learn to
Mm,
be patient and to understand my body differently, which is where Bowspring has been really useful. So
mm,
I fell. I thought I had only hurt my kneecap, but then found out what seemed to be sort of really painful muscle and spasm when I moved certain ways, when I closed my knee. I used to be able to sit in lotus. I couldn't. I sit in lotus to work at my desk. So this wasn't seemed to go away and came back
mm,
in very strong way.
mm,
And then the process of trying to work and understand the muscles, both their orientation, how they need, how we need to engage them in the right directions, and how we need to engage everything from the toe
mm,
all the way to the hip. Um, and this is thanks to your advice, we realized that in fact, I had the lazy engagement. I wasn't engaging at the level of my toe and my heel that would release my hamstring.
mm,
And in fact, when through a series of exercise we did, and then working on this, and me then being very mindful about engaging toe, heel, hamstring while lifting and not crunching with the pain, has in the space of a few days really helped release that pain. And right now I'm only at a pinch. So
mm.
it also taught me something about my own patterns
Yeah.
and habits
Yes. Well,
of body.
yeah, it's great because it's usually, it's hard to see us on the back, and it's hard to engage the back muscles, right? So, and that's what you discovered that, oh, I'm not engaging my leg on all sides, or I'm not engaging my body on all sides. Let's wake up those muscles who have been asleep forever. And it takes a mindful and the balanced approach to wake up the entire body and work your body as a whole, as a unit. And yeah, that's perfect. That's amazing. And do you think the this approach would give a long-term benefit uh, compared to the short-term fixing problem, and then that problem would come back if you continue the default of sitting slouchy, tucking the tailbone, and not using the back muscles?
Yes, I definitely think it does in multiple ways. First of all, because I think it's a form of alignment that I can take with me every day. I stand a lot when I teach, but I sit a lot
Mm,
as well at my desk, often for six,
right.
8 hours at a time, and that has effects over time. So I think it allows us to have bodies that can sustain themselves, don't end up developing lower back pain. Or I used to have shoulder, the back, left shoulder pinch from typing at the computer.
Yeah.
So it's sustainable over time, which I think makes us stronger, healthier in both muscles and bones. And it, for me, in both these instances of recent injuries, it's also showed me I didn't have to take any medication,
Right.
both to suffer through the pain. I mean, as a disclaimer, I don't mean to talk about people who have very, very serious pain, but in my case,
Yes.
or even to do this without resorting
Mhm.
to temporary pain medication. And I also think it teaches us to be very gentle and
Mm.
patient,
Yes.
because
Yes.
with ourselves, what I've enjoyed both in a practice and its therapeutic uses
Mm.
is I've always felt this worked with my body,
Mm.
not against my
Oh,
body.
perfect. Perfectly said. Yes. Yes, it's patient approach. It can be fixed overnight. Sometimes it does, like with me, my pain was gone, like during first workshop. But it's a patient approach. see your own default posture of the collapse or default posture of not engaging somewhere and over engaging somewhere else. And just being mindful and very, yes, accountable in your approach. What am I doing to create this tension in me, or the pain, or sometimes the pain comes, out of nowhere, but with this practice, we can address, and we can uh, holistically approach the healing. Um, yeah, so what I like about this practice is that it's so functional. We can take it to anything we do, standing, sitting at the desk, or cooking, or gardening, whatever, even running, And so if you're guys interested in in learning this methodology, just pop up in my classes, and or send me a message, and I will work with you individually. If you are a little, shy to come to class, I do teach privates anyway. So if you're interested, please reach out. And this practice is for everyone. It's for everyone. It is so healing. It is amazing. But you have to be open-minded about it. Sandrine, thank you so much for your feedback, and for your comments, and for this, for your.
Well, thank you, Narcisa.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.